Okay. Okay, right. So now this record. Now it's at the top. Now it's coming up. 27
frames per second.
All right. Okay, buddy. All right. Thanks. I'll do it now as well. Just check it.
Push it across so it doesn't fall out. Maybe it just.
Just hang on a minute, mate. Okay, so I'm going to hit the stop it. Just stop it. Yeah. Okay, and then just cancel or stop. Stop. Yeah. Okay. Now we want. It's gone. Oh no, it's not passed. Oh well, look, it doesn't matter now. We're just going to have to leave it. Not much I can do about it. Okay, I'll have to have a look. Yeah, no, that's cool, mate. No, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, look, appreciate it. Thank you. So that's recording. Yeah, okay. All right, thanks, mate. Cheers. No, look, I'm happy where it is now, so that's all good. All right, thanks for that project. Thanks, mate.
Get there early so we can
connected with her ukulele.
Going through the wireless network there. Just through the, so I don't know what that is. I wouldn't stop it now. I just can't. He doesn't know how to get rid of it, so I've got no idea. Unless it's in one of these other features down here. What's this?
Event list or chat. Unless that's a chat box that people can write in. That's another screen, but. I would. We'll try a stop start. Like we're not started yet. Do you think?
Yeah. Okay. It's just stopped. Yeah.
I wasn't there to start with.
Let's get the camera so that we make the thing
I think that's it, right? Yep. That's all right. Go close. Did you know that Nat's favourite flavor was the blue rim? You'll see one of them.
No worry, anywhere or Sweeney's mum's garden.
I'll be up kind of, no one else is.
I'll fill it up. video man like this.
Oh,
Video. basically how long you can. don't even want to get over relations.
G'day, Wes.
Long time since I saw you.
I had fellow doctors there, wasn't there? What about you?
Physically.
Oh, well, that's right.
You can't do much about it.
No?
I formally retired about 6 months ago.
Right?
I formally retired about 6 months ago. I only work for myself now.
Put the lawnmower away.
Sort of.
Oh, you still got some in your hair.
I thought they were done. And I felt like
Oh, yeah. Till it runs out.
I don't miss the work. I do miss the people.
Yeah.
I stopped and have a chat with back days or something like that. Really good as well.
Well, it's the same when I go over contracting away.
What do you do with yourself? Good morning, Mrs.
Oh, I'm a farmer. I'll never run out.
You still got the holidays out there? You don't need much danger to get the sweat up on you.
Oh, well, I've got the sheep there still.
There's always something extra to do.
Oh, yeah, I've been doing. The old ramp and she goes separate from the main. She goes. I built a new set of rooms. I put it on the wall. It takes a fair while.
Well, you don't have to finish it today.
So, I started back last November. I got a couple of bolts to put in. That's about it.
Well, that's going to
I didn't build them very fancy. Well, I just built them so that the next person can pull it down easy if he doesn't like it.
I'm very thoughtful. When I did it, I told me last war, I didn't need some very small. But some of the things come down to other things.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could be all upstanding for the family, please.
Then I shall We have just listened to Paul and Di present the song Danny Boy. Now this was a request by Edna herself for today. Thank you, Di and Paul. On behalf of Edna's family, I wish to welcome you to this celebration of her life. My name is Carol Stevens and it is a privilege to be asked to lead this service. I acknowledge those who are watching via the live stream. A special mention of Margaret, Edna's sister, and her family who are watching in. We send you our sympathy. Every one of us are unique, and sometimes what we project on the surface can camouflage our not so well-known talents or abilities. This, as it turns out, was very true in the case of Edna. When you scratch the surface, there was so much more than met the eye. She came across as a quiet and demure lady. However, if faced with a difference of opinion, she could be quite stubborn and not budge from her own perspective of the argument. She was a lady of contradictions, like loving to stay into her pyjamas and dressing down until midday, but dressed up to the nines if she was going out. She loved the Australian flora and fauna, but secretly hated gum trees, as Edna considered them very messy. Edna was a real lady, but loved a dirty joke and enjoyed the reaction of everyone around her when she made funny faces and dropped out her dentures. As you will hear during this morning's service and read in your booklet, you will notice that the author of the poems is Krista Lee. Krista Lee was the author's pseudonym name for Edna. Her own children were quite surprised this past week when these poems of wit, realism and humour surfaced. Not only did Edna express herself through her poems, she also kept a journal recording her thoughts and experiences. This has proved to be invaluable for her family this past week, allowing them an insight into Edna's everyday life from her perspective. She used the medium of poetry and writing to express love and pride for her family, the beauty and appreciation that she had for nature, as well as life on the farm in all its glory and in its all hard work. The care and welfare of raising livestock and the harsh reality of the fragility of them. She wrote about her contentment and the connection she held within the highlands of Strathbogie and the people of the community that lived there. Edna was someone who I would describe as the extraordinary within the ordinary. A lady who lived her nearly 97 years with tenacity and authenticity, not asking for more or asking why me, when life was hard or sadness fell upon her. Edna was a proud country lass who knew that life was what you made it and that every day is a blessing, and those that you love are your most precious possessions. So it's now my privilege to share with you the original poem of Edna, or Krista Lee. It's inside your booklet and it's called My Crew. There's my dear Gary Linton at the top of the mast. He is so reliable when things are overcast. Then there is Dennis Lyle, the closest of all, so big at heart, even though just small. I'm so proud of my big doll, Ashley Wayne, so warm, so lovable and so tall. Then what a thrill after 3 dear little boys, the arrival of my darling daughter, my treasure, Leanne Joy. Then there's old Winton, the captain of the crew. We have had our ups and downs, but somehow or other we have managed to pull through. Now, some of Edna's family have gone to a lot of work, with love of course, to share with all of you their fond and sometimes funny memories. Now, the first one is a recorded life story from Gary. And Ian, when you're ready, would you like to play that? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the family of Edna Mackrell, I would like to sincerely thank all those who have helped organise today's service and heartfelt appreciation for all attending in person or remotely to honour our mum's farewell. There are also quite a few who have sent apologies because they have COVID or are otherwise unable to attend. Mum had a long, interesting, sometimes complicated life. She did say it could have ended at 32 when Dennis and I, aged 7 and 8 at the time, fired the shotgun out through the back door at a magpie as she returned from the outside dining. As the eldest of her 4 children, but having been away from Uriah for over 50 years, my observations are somewhat episodic. My sister Leanne and the grandkids will give a more intimate perspective. I regret I cannot attend the service in person. I'm currently undergoing chemo and immunotreatment in Sydney. Leanne has also been battling serious cancer. Her ill health has thrown the main responsibility of looking after Mum, especially in recent years, on the cheerful, energetic shoulders of Dennis's wife, Di. Mum was born on the 27th of August 1925, the third of 5 children of Tom and Azealia Holmes. Merle, Lyle, Edna, Eileen and Margaret. Auntie Margaret is the surviving family member. As Mum has told all family members many times, she was born in a horse-drawn jingle near Sheens Creek on their way to Uriah Hospital from the family farm at Kissbrook, Strathbogie. The sister at the hospital was angry for them not making it in time. With the world in turmoil from depression and wars and farming still heavily manual, her early life was a mixture of hard toil, few creature comforts, but also lots of sporting and local community activities. The old timber house with Hessian partitions had 2 bedrooms, so some of the kids slept out on the veranda in the middle of winter. Temperatures got down to -7 or 8. They had a bath once a week and water heated in a copper in a tub outside. She helped her mother milk 17 cows and her father with the draft horses, clearing trees, ploughing and with the veggie garden. They walked 3 kilometres to school and similar distance to the local Sunday school dance hall and sports field, often at night with no torches and the ground white with frost. She left school at the then standard year 8 at age 14. Due to lack of work in the district, she moved to Melbourne to live with her uncle at Sandringham. Leanne will say a bit more about her time in Melbourne. It was in Melbourne she learned to play the banjo mandolin, even playing on the local radio station. When Lyle was killed in the war, she was called home by her father to help out, and this was when she met her future husband, Wilton Mackrell. The courtship was conducted by Dad riding a fixed-wheel bicycle from Uriah 25 kilometres up the hills to the farm. After marrying in 1947, Dad was able to buy the farm from Mum's parents, which is now owned by Dennis, the 4th generation to do so. In 1949 I arrived on the scene, shortly followed by Dennis, then Wayne and last a much wanted baby girl, Leanne. Slowly but surely the financial and work hardships diminished and farm life offered more creature comforts. A new house, a big blue Dodge ute able to jam 6 of us along the single bench seat, 32 volt electricity from a diesel generator, a telephone on the wall, hot water in the bath via the kitchen stove, and a refrigerator rather than a cool gaudy safe. Luxury. What must have grated with my siblings, but who never complained, was that she loved all her kids equally. Then say she had nothing when she first got married. Gary was the most precious thing I ever had. So much for family diplomacy, but also expectations on the golden child. My main memories of these early years was of Mum spending her time cooking, washing, sewing, knitting and crocheting, often late into the night, and generally looking after a growing brood. Dad also worked long hours with the sheep, ploughing, harvesting, or in his extensive veggie garden. We kids walked across the paddocks around 3 kilometres to school, carrying the mail and double loaf bread home. We would break the loaves into 2, the easier to carry. The trick was then to eat the opening just enough not to be growled at. Weekends are where interests changed. Friday nights there would be community card games, and Saturday Mum and Dad would play tennis, and Saturday night there would often be a dance where everyone brought a plate for an after-dance cup of tea. The tennis continued as we got older. Dad became progressively more involved with cricket and football when Wayne and I started playing, while Dennis was mostly focused on tennis. Mum also started playing golf again in the winter. They drove us to our representative matches on Sunday, sometimes as far afield as Albury and to country work in Melbourne. There was only one practical downside. We were always late. Mum would not leave until she finished what she had to do. Dennis had a brain late. Around mid-morning when she wasn't looking, he would leave the clocks on 30 to 40 minutes, and they presto, we arrived in time. Never twigged, and I don't know if Dad knew either. I keep mentioning sport. If Mum took up something, she did well at it. What I found till later was that while she had great fun playing and socialising, she had a very stubborn, determined streak. One particular incident comes to mind. In a mixed doubles partner at neighbour Clive Jacobo had 5 love and down 40 love, but somehow won 6-5. Second was that she'd been playing in the A-grade bowls comp for quite a while, and the selection committee decided to drop her back a grade. Well, this was a calculated personal insult. She refused to play again, and the person she suspected was the chief instigator didn't get an invite to her 90th years later. As we older kids started to leave home, there was a phase when the marriage was under pressure and she suffered fatigue. When Anne was the most exposed to what was to be a lengthy journey of self-discovery as to what was causing her health issues. Natural remedies were enthusiastically explored, and she could rattle off complicated medical terminology relating to what might be affecting her. Mum became increasingly devoted to gardening and a growing number of grandkids and their interests. She became wholly knowledgeable about plants and flowers, but also garden design, propagation and maintenance. All her gardens became showpieces, usually featuring unusual plants and shrubs. There were a number of friends in the district who were equally keen. The resulting sharing of ideas, cuttings, etc. made for a very enjoyable pastime. When the Strathbogie winters got too much, they moved to Euroa in 1985, and Dennis increasingly took over running his and Dad's farms. They both took up lawn bowls. As Dad cut back his time at the farm, they started travelling overseas and really enjoyed the opportunity to see and do things in countries and cultures far removed from their earlier lives. In 1986, the highlight was that when they visited us in New York, and they went into Manhattan to watch the St Patrick's Day celebrations. The gay Irish police march contingent was a real surprise. Earlier they, especially Mum, had become staunch Melbourne supporters. Her school friend Vernon Moore's son John, who had played cricket and footy with Wayne, began his career with the Kangaroos and eventually became captain. No long-distance phone conversation with Mum would ever go without a detailed discussion about all the major sporting events going on here and overseas, and even longer when the Kangaroos had been robbed by poor umpiring or bad luck. The sudden shocking passing of Wayne in 2005 from a blood clot when he was only 51 and with 3 teenage children hit Mum and Dad very hard, and it took them a long time to come to terms with the tragedy. Then Dad became increasingly ill, passing away in 2010, so it was a pretty challenging period for him. And the side I'd like to make, a while after Wayne had passed away, his wife Trina met a new partner, Matt. Matt was nervous about how he might be received by the family. During Mum's 90th celebrations, he sought Mum out and expressed his gratitude for how warmly he had been received. A little secret I can share. Mum was even more impressed with Matt for his courtesy, and honesty in seeking them out. Some new interests and a renewed interest in music had also begun. Mum began to dabble in writing poems and short stories under the pseudonym Crystal Lee. We'll hear a couple of these later in the service. Di formed a ukulele band and Mum quickly became an enthusiastic participant, forming lots of new friends. The oldest member of the group, 83 I think, they missed out, but Mum was tickled pink with the whole process. She began a routine of getting 3 books a week from the local library, a daily ritual. Increasingly still in her dressing gown, was to sit in a chair with a small table in front of her, read the daily paper from cover to cover, read a book for a while, practice songs on the TV, watch sport and the news on TV. As the grandchildren and their cousins started to drive cars, Mum's house became a convenient overnight stopover. A constant was a fridge full of homemade slices and cakes, augmented with lollies and chocolates, and in later years a large supply of drumsticks. For a gluten-free advocate, her argument was that there was rather there for the visitors, but she always partook. She regularly grumbled that there should be more frequent visits by more family members, and that when they were there, they should do the odd jobs needed around the house and garden. The family should be here to help, not some tradesman. Di mowed the lawns and did what she could. When you come down, next by coming out the front door. Change the light bulbs in entry and here's your jobs list. Oh, hello, Mum, nice to see you again. No, in the same state. She called me down to the high back fence and a loud voice says, the neighbours have planted these fast-growing gums. They're already above the fence line. They're going to ruin my lovely garden. Tonight I want you to jump the fence and poison them. All right, I want you to dig under from this side of the fence and chop off all the bigger roots. Yes, Mum. Fortunately, the property was sold shortly after, and the new owners got rid of the trees for that and unurgent. An issue which happened pretty frequently when we visited was that when she didn't want to do something or became worried about something, she would have what she called a turn. One outcome was that she said she had lost the use of her legs. Telling her this was due to her hyperventilating or was psychosomatic or not a heart got nowhere. Ironically, the terms got dropped away when she was sent by ambulance to Shepparton to do more tests. Finding nothing significant, she came back by ambulance. A bit later, she got a bill for over $4,000. It overlooked maintaining a policy after Dad passed away. Another adventure was that when she was convinced she had a deteriorating carotid artery, Judy and I drove her to Shepparton Medical Centre for the result of tests. We were waiting in a rather large but packed anteroom when she suddenly exclaimed, I don't want to be examined by some darky doctor. No, you can't say that. Keep your voice down. And then a second later, an office door opened and a young man in a white coat with very black in appearance calls, Mrs. Mackrell, please come in. We waited in the anteroom for about 15 minutes and she comes out, face totally expressionless. As we head out into the street, I hesitantly inquire, how'd you go? Oh, he was the nicest, most pleasant doctor I've ever been to. So charming and such lovely manners. And he said I had the carotid artery of a 21-year-old. Scratched carotid artery off the health issues list. The challenges of living at home on our own means that the battles to convince her to make the transition to assisted care began to get more stressful. Although she didn't drive much, she checked up to Burton's, the chemist or the doctors, we were concerned she could be involved in an accident. We thought she might even be driving unlicensed, but we discovered it was unrestricted and it didn't expire until 2023. Mum, wouldn't you be upset if you hit someone? That's their problem. A few weeks later, she agreed to stop driving. Came to life a little while later. I was talking to my nephew Dad. He said he'd been driving up Benny Street and found Mum parking her car in the middle of the roundabout outside the post office. Man, I need to move your car. She remained totally silent on the matter. She reluctantly moved into Granite Hills, but was a bit overwhelmed by its size and became increasingly disoriented. The past year or so, with COVID restrictions and strains and pressures on everyone, maintaining Mum's welfare has been a challenge. A great tribute must go to Di, not just for her unceasing support for Mum when Leanne couldn't help as much as she would have wished, but for all her love and devotion to Mum over many years. I'd also like to thank the doctors and the staff at Granite Hills for looking after her in the final phase of her life. Mum shares the same birthday as Don Bradman. And when I said she should aim to beat Don's average and get to 100, she was adamant. I'll go when it's the right time. In summing up, Mum was a determined straight shooter who was widely respected in the community. She loved sport, music and gardening. She was house proud, but also with quirky tastes in items involving birds, especially blue wrens, floor rugs and lots of loves. She had a loud, peeling belly laugh, especially when dirty jokes were involved. Probably most of all was her interest in the welfare of and having a fun time with her 11 grandchildren and her 18 great-grandchildren. For me, the golden lessons I learned from Mum are treat people like you would like to be treated, have the courage to be honest with people, and persistency, hard work and quiet determination will get you a long way. Love you, Mum. Rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Gary. You've done a wonderful job. I'm now going to share some memories from Leanne. Mum worked in Melbourne at an early age. She worked in the Table Talk Biscuits factory for a while, although we don't know much about this. For some reason, we do have a photo of this building, and I think it's still standing today. I think we were saying the other day. Mum worked at Darrods in Melbourne, working as the finisher sewing beads on dresses. She loved her sewing. She would make wedding and bridesmaids' dresses for family weddings. In those days, they were beautiful with satin and tulle. Mum made my clothes, which I really wasn't impressed with, as my friends had bought clothes and it made me feel different. In the later years, Mum cut her wedding dress up for a fancy dress for me. I was partnered with Adrian Jacker. He wore a dinner suit and top hat, and we made a great team, winning first prize. Mum taught me how to iron, starting off with small garments like handkerchiefs, pillow slips and tea towels. Even to this day, I still like ironing. Mum loved her garden, which made her 3 homes and gardens a welcome and always picturesque place to come home to. She could make flowers grow in the cracks of concrete. We used to say, don't make that garden too big, but each time we visited, those rock edges were getting wider and wider. She had the most beautiful, colourful gardens. Another favourite of Mum's was that she loved plastic and dry flower arranging. They were on nearly every flat surface in every room throughout her house. A great treat Mum loved was cooking, and in particular loved making ginger fluff sponges for supper or for the bogey dances and sporting events that the boys played at. One other thing, I used to say to Mum, she shouldn't have all those mats on the floor in case she tripped. She said, I haven't many. So I counted them up, and there were 17 mats throughout the whole house. Goodbye, my dear Mum. You lived for your family and your garden. Love, Leanne. Next we'll hear from Paul, who's the grandson of Edna. Thanks, Paul.
Edna Irene Hilda Mackrell, born 27th of August 1925. Known by Edna to most, known as Mum by 4, as Nan by 11, as Great Nan or Gigi by 18, and simply as Ed by her husband and life partner Wilton. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Paul and I'm the youngest son of Diane and Dennis. I'm the youngest of the 11 grandchildren who knew Edna as Nan. Having only been on this planet just 31 years of her 96, I was not around for Nan's young, sporty and hard-working years on the farm. But in the last third of her life that I've had the privilege of sharing with her, Nan has been a huge and positive influence on my life. The passing of Nan is the end of an era for the Mackrells and the loss of a connection with a time when things were much simpler. Having recently read through a book of her memoirs, I have had the opportunity and privilege of getting to know more intimately about the highs and lows of Nan's life. I would love to share a story from those times that she once wrote and submitted to the editor of the Yeeral Gazette. It is titled, Excursion Train Memories. I remember the excitement the day we went on the excursion train to Melbourne 75 years ago, down to St Kilda Beach. Before we went to bed the night before, our mother did the girls' hair up in rags so we would look our best to go to Melbourne. Our 1927 Chevrolet had a flat tyre, so our dad and uncle worked on it through the night so that Dad could drive us to Euroa, 18 miles away, to the railway station early the next morning. What a day we had on our first visit to the beach and on the train, and what wonderful tasting ice creams and lots of fun we had. I wonder how many other people can remember that day. Another thing I would like to share from her writings are her comments about being a grandmother. It is wonderful to be a grandparent when they're old enough to put their lovely arms around your neck and they depend on you for everything. You only have them for a day and they go home. You haven't got them all the time like you had with your own children, so you have more time to spend with them. They say you're not a good mother until you're a grandmother, and I believe that. This really resonated with me and really reflects on how I feel about her as my nan. My two siblings, Mara and Kane, would have given the world to be here today, but unfortunately, Mara and her family have fallen victim to the curse of COVID, and Kane's current visa status would not allow him to make a trip over from Canada. The following are some memories and feelings I would like to share on mine and their behalf. Growing up on a farm out of town, after school sports practice, work, or a party at a friend's house usually meant just one thing for us: a sleepover at Nan and Pop's house. A very exciting proposition. From the moment you walked in the door of Nan's place until when she walked you out to the car to wave goodbye, rain, hail or shine, time with Nan was always an experience of love, care and spoiling with treats and food. Her meals were always traditional and hearty. They were always started with a bowl of soup with an offer of additional salt, and followed by a favourite dessert, street blue ribbon ice cream and crunchy peppermint ice magic, which was always savoured with her favourite little teaspoons until the very last bite. A good 30 minutes before bedtime, Nan would always announce that she would go turn the electric blankets on to make sure that bedtime was a warm and cosy affair, tucked in tight with her always frilly and flowery linen. Nan did not often leave her house, but that meant that when you decided to visit, it was a pretty sure bet that she'd be home, ready to welcome you with a joyful exclamation of excitement and surprise to see you, followed by a big fat kiss on the lips. The fact that she often mistook me for my brother Kane, didn't detract from the warmth of her welcome one bit. She always had on hand a fridge full of lemon and caramel slice and a big jar full of lollies, ready to be raided when she wasn't looking. When it was time to leave, her etiquette was to always walk you all the way out to your car to bid you farewell and wave you goodbye. This posed a problem when she was living at Granite Hill and her short-term memory was failing, as she had no idea how to find her way back to her room when you walked her back to her room and announced you were leaving again, she would be up out of her chair and ready to walk you out to your car all over again. In my experience, Nan showed she cared by the things she did for us. And on the other hand, she felt especially loved when we did things for her. A particular example of this was when Myron's son Bowden was 4 years old. Nan had just gotten out of a hospital stay when she arrived for a dinner at Myron's house. Knowing that Nan had just been in hospital and needed to be cared for, Bowden walked Nan to the couch and got her set up in the recliner with a newspaper and a blanket. And then he and his sister Bella joined her under the blanket to read their own papers and keep her company. Nan was so chuffed about the care he had shown that she sent him double in his birthday money the following year. Nan was consistent. You knew what you were going to get when you went to visit her. It wasn't always a positive attitude, but you knew that she would always make you feel loved. A memory Myron has from earlier years was that when you would see Nan on your birthday, there was a price you had to pay to get that present she was bringing you, and that was that you had to cop a big wet lipstick kiss from Nan to get it. And these kisses always left you wiping pink lipstick off your face for hours. Another consistent thing from Nan was that she would show up to every family barbecue or gathering during summer with a tray of one of the weirdest salads I have ever encountered. That was her jelly salad. I used to think it was a normal thing and that all families must have it. But as I've grown older and asked around my friends, I realised just how weird a salad that consists of orange jelly with grated carrot and pineapple pieces in it really is. Nan was a strong example of a very Mackrell family trait, and that is, as Gary mentioned, that she was a person with a strong mind and strong opinions. When she made her mind up about something, she would not budge. A classic favourite tradition staple of our Christmas Eve dinner with Nan was to bring up the story that Nan always told about my dad Dennis when he was a little boy. The story was one where Dennis was riding his tricycle down the hill at the farm with a cardboard box on his head and crashed at the bottom and broke his nose. The response from Dad was always, "I did not have a box on my head," and the debate would start, much to the delight of the rest of the family. Whether or not he actually did have the box on his head, we'll never know for sure. But Nan has now taken her opinion to the grave, and I believe that Dad will as well. Something that Gary has mentioned already, but something I feel is important enough to mention twice, is I'd like to take this moment to publicly recognise the mammoth amount of time, love and effort my mum Di has shared with her mother-in-law since they first met many moons ago. We recently discovered in Nan's old poems, much to Mum's surprise, one poem titled Die, 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 Bindi, which detailed just how highly Nan thought of Mum and how much she wished for Mum to stick around and be a part of the family. I know for sure that Nan was always very pleased to have had that wish come true. Nan, we will always hold close to our hearts the memories of spending time with you and all those things you did for us to show you love. Sending you out with big squeezy hugs and all my love. Thank you.
Now Kylie, did Kylie manage to come down from the hill? Good. We weren't sure whether you were going to get snowed in. Kylie is the granddaughter of Edna and she's presenting some memories on behalf of her cousins in Sydney. It's up to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kylie. I'm the daughter of Gary and Judy from Sydney, Nan's eldest grandchild. I'll be speaking on behalf of the Sydney grandchildren, Adam and Ryan. Adam's here today, but unfortunately Ryan couldn't make it. Most of our memories of Nan are either visiting from Sydney or speaking to her on the phone. We have memories of her greeting us or saying goodbye to us in her dressing gown and slippers out the front of her house Also of her sweeping the concrete or raking the leaves from the driveway or pottering around her garden. Nan always proudly showed us around her garden, telling us what all the plants were and picking us things to eat. Nan's pantry and fridge were always full and overflowing with food, and there was always a treat for us to have. We remember Nan cooking in her kitchen, making strawberry jam or raspberry jam from the farm, or making one of her many slices, even though she supposedly couldn't eat sugar. Yeah, she was always making a jelly salad, or boiling sheep's tongue or brains, or crumbing pieces of rabbit and the rabbit's kidneys. We remember Nan, which from Sydney, that was quite shocking for us, but probably normal for farmers. We remember Nan getting us up and dressed to go with Pop in his white Subaru ute, and the three of us squishing into the front passenger seat to go up the farm, rabbit trapping, and to drop hay off the back of the ute to feed the animals. During our stays with Nan and Pop, Nan used to play card games like sets and straights and board games with us. Nan even let us play rude Scrabble, letting us use words like poo, bum, crap and wee, which as little ones we thought was hilarious. We remember Nan yelling at Pop, shouting Wilton, and Pop responding by grumbling under his breath. During our stays, we would always go for a drive around Strathbogie, and she would tell us who lived where and the history of the area, including where she was born, and that she was born in the back of a Jinka. When our stay had come to an end, she would load us up in the car with meat and fruit and veggies and plant clippings. We always remember having a pumpkin or something at our feet when we would travel home to Sydney. We once even took a wild rabbit home that we kept as a pet. We also remember Nan always having something funny to say. When Nan first met my husband Bill, when we arrived at her house and she opened the front door, I asked, "How have you been, Nan?" And the first thing she said in front of Bill was, "Oh gosh, Kylie, I've been so sick, every time I cough, I nearly wet myself." Bill nearly wet himself laughing at her comment. I also remember her telling me once, "I don't know why all these young girls are getting Brazilian waxes, as it all falls out anyway." I'm not sure whether that's true or not, but anyway. During telephone calls with Nan, she always spoke about the weather and repeated stories about when we were kids and travelled to visit her. She would talk about me calling Euroa my roa, and she could never quite get over how old I was, and that she had a grandchild that old. What I remember most about our phone calls was her raspy and crackly voice and her always laugh. Thank you.
Lauren unfortunately is not very well, so I'm going to invite Dave to come up and share some words that Lauren prepared on behalf of Dave, herself and Amy. And then Dave will then read one of Krista Lee's poems called Father's Gone Mad with the Paintbrush, so I'll hand over to Dave. Yes.
Is that microphone on? Is it microphone on? Everyone's on. Sorry, I'm the only tall one in the Mackrell family. I'm glad it's written down because I've actually got pop shakes. We remember that when we were little kids and we would go to Nan and Pop's place, the first thing we wanted was the lolly jar or the chocolate jar, sometimes the nut jar. Nan would always say, "You will spoil your dinner." Every time we went back, she would always have a chocolate block full of fresh lollies. I always took my fair share. She would always give Pop special instructions to bring home veggies from the farm so she could make homemade soup every meal when he stayed at Nan's place starting the soup. I remember every time you would visit Nan's place, you'd unlock the back gate, walk around the backyard and say, "Hey Nan!" Scare the living crap out of her. While she was fiddling away in the garden, nothing would stop her getting into her garden. Even in a new house with clay soil, she still got us kids digging plants to put in new ones. Nan's determination to keep moving forward was her strength. Pop even ran her over once in the driveway. She was a little banged up, but still found a way to make everyone laugh and have a chuckle. Later in life, Amy would receive Nan's home delivery order from Burton's. While she told us all her taste buds were on the blink, she would still order her 24 pack of drumsticks every couple of weeks. She sure did love her ice cream. Lawrence has fond memories of her Nan, or as Dallas knew her, Gigi. When the two would visit her, Gigi would always tell Dallas, "Well, you're 5 and I'm 95. The 90-year age gap was something that she was so amazed by. We all know that you are at peace now and back with Pop. We hope you two are proud of us. Please give Dad a big hug from all of us. We love you." And then Nan's infamous poems that I've only just found out today that she written herself. Father's Gone Mad with a Paintbrush by Christopher Lee. Father's gone mad with a paintbrush. Mind you don't get crushed in the rush. He's painting here, he's painting there. In fact, an improvement just about everywhere. Father's gone mad with a paintbrush. He's got paint on his face, his clothes and his hair. In fact, when you look around, there's a white gloss paint just about everywhere. Father's gone mad with a paintbrush. Only taken 29 years for him to start. If he reads what I've written, he'd say toodaloo and probably depart. He's done funny things on the doorstep, though queer things into my heart. When you come up the hill, it's the same place still, only Father's gone mad with a paintbrush. Thank you. Love you now.
We now come to the time that we're going to look at attributing pictures with musical accompaniment by Di on her harp. Di is just going to need a minute to retune her harp. We'll now pause for a few minutes to listen to some beautiful music from Di. This is also an opportunity to spend this time in either silent thought or prayer. Any words left undone with Edna, release them now to your thoughts. Thank you, Ian. Edna was first a daughter of Thomas and Azealia Hobbs, a devoted wife of her late son, Wayne. Much respected sister-in-law of Charlie, and also of the late Bill, Bruce, Norman and Rod. Mother-in-law of Judy, Di, Trina and Andrew. Close friend of Trina's now partner, Matt. Adored nan of Kylie, Adam, Ryan, Mara, Kane, Paul, Amy, Dav, Lauren, Dean and Rowan. Proud great man of 18, and they are Tash, Ray, Zali, Liam, Blake, Sophie and Lillian, Bowden, Bella, Maddie, Dallas, Penelope, Zach, Angus, Quinton, Callum and Summer. Edna was a friend to many, not only to her close friends, but to also her neighbours and her sporting team members. Edna's husband Wilton was heavily involved in many aspects within the stroke boating community. With the support of his right-hand lady and wife Edna, they both worked as a two-person team, and Edna embodied the phrase, behind every good man is a good woman. After this morning's service, the family will follow behind the hearse to do a drive through the Granite Hill car park for the residents and staff to pay their respects. We ask you whether the family will see you there after the burial. On behalf of Edna's family, they would like to sincerely thank all the staff at Granite Hill and the doctors and nurses at URL Medical for their care of Edna. Personal thanks to Margarita and James Serini for their support and many visits over the years to Edna. Also thanks to Faye Woods, who started out first as a support worker, but the relationship between her and Edna ended up being a friendship. To Di and friends from the ukulele group, thank you for being here today and providing the lovely music. I will now ask you to move forward to the front to play another favourite song of Edna's. Please come forward.
The ukulele group was a very big part of Edna's life in their last 10 or so years. And Edna took the ukulele up when she was 83, taking to it like a duck to water and demonstrating that you are never too old to learn something new. She was one of the founding members of the Uroa Ukulele Group and hardly missed a rehearsal or gathering of the group. She was always eager to join in any of the group's many playouts, including auditioning for Australia's Got Talent, as was mentioned earlier, and entertaining many times at Euroaville, Amaroo, and Granite Hill for the oldies. Whenever I would ask the group if they had any requests for a song to play, Edna would always hurriedly ruffle through her book of songs looking for number 26. Love is a Beautiful Song. And indeed, that was one of Edna's requests for her funeral. And several of the members of the Uroa Ukulele Group, Margarita, who's a special friend of Edna's, and Mark Covenants and Chris Day, who are special friends of mine, and also joined by James, Margarita's partner. We will share this song with you now. And if you would like to sing along, we would welcome that.
Way of Love is a beautiful song. Love, 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 love. Love is a new way of living, a new way of starting each day. Millions of people all over the world know that love is a beautiful song. Millions of people all over the world know that love is a beautiful song.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining in. It is time to say our farewells to Edna at this time and from this place. As a mother and nan and great nan, she was the epitome of love and devotion. Where her loved ones just knew that when they walked through her door, there she always was. She may fill their tummies with yummies, but she also filled their hearts with love. She always gave them her whole attention. She was a hostess extraordinaire, a garden guru, and a constant presence, a shoulder of comfort and a ready smile, a hearty laugh, and a hug to brighten your day. Rest in peace, Edna. I'll ask you now to please stand for the recessional, and would all pallbearers please come forward and just follow behind the funeral director. Thank you.
Can't see me running very often.
Where is he now?
Oh, he's down in Melbourne. Yeah, he's a file.
Yes, he's still your brother. You don't have to see him every day.
No, he don't.
Some people forget that. You don't forget a single thing that happened. It's all there. The caring and everything else. That doesn't go away.
No. It's always the same, isn't it?
Your true friends, you know them, when you meet them and you carry on as I saw the 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I do. It's interesting
You
how
don't
it goes.
have to apologise or say anything. Just, that's the way we weren't meant to be together.
Yeah.
Maybe we were at the start age, but anyone did go.
No.
But we're a bit past that. If you know someone, you understand someone, and you know them, you don't. So easy going. The people you grew up with, you never forget them.
Oh, there's slides up there for
No, Kev. I've been back lots of
Edna's,
memories.
Edna's bridesmaids and bloody Jacko women. I go, oh,
So many things
they're
to
all
say.
gone now. Who's going to be last? I know.
And yeah, it's all in there, just sort of read through the whole thing last night, but I don't feel like read it. Well, I think, well, we should all take it now.
Yeah.
There's
John has get it up. Eric's done it too.
Right now. Okay.
Big crowd. Whatever you can get out of it.
You're welcome. It was sort of, it was long, but you're welcome. But I think that's a little noise. That's one.
Kylie's speaks that I hadn't heard yet.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny about how,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
people's personalities really shine through when we read it.
Do you have my keys, Dennis? Do you have my keys?
But like when everyone says the same.
Did you pick up the keys, Paul?
No.
Oh, yeah, no.
You can let it go.
Just watch that shoulder strap thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it shines through a lot.
Oh, Dennis. These two stands.
These all